Well, some big old meanies have called Disney World a tourist trap. We're going to talk about that tonight. Cell service was down. How did that affect people in the parks? Food and wine in the distance. But Flower and Garden is almost here. We'll talk about it tonight on ParksCenter. Welcome to ParksCenter for February 25th, 2024. I'm your host, Rob Whiteside. Thank you guys, as always, for being with us. We always appreciate you being here with us on a Sunday night. If you could, and you haven't already, please subscribe to WDWNT TV for more great content and give us a thumbs up, as it helps people to find us, and it strokes the egos of our panelists. So please give everything you've got to these folks, starting with Allison.
Hi, everyone.
Stephanie.
Happy leap year.
And Mr. Patrick Hackett.
Please pay me $1,200 for being on this show.
That's not going to happen. So if you guys could, when I said needy people, I really just meant Patrick. He's really the only one that needs the validation. So if you could give, please give with your heart and give a thumbs up for Patrick. Thumbs up for Patrick. Hashtag thumbs up for Patrick. Tonight we're going to talk a little bit about a story that as soon as I saw it, I was like, are we for real here? It's this story about Disney World being ranked the #1 ripoff tourist attraction it says in country, but I think it means in the country. A lot of things. There was a lot of weirdness about this. First of all, it was not by USA Today, not by CNN, but of course by our good friends from casino.org. They're the ones who put this together. Apparently they looked into a lot of searches and said, okay, this is the thing that people think. And they were like, the runners up are, and this is the crazy part, like, the runners-up were the Washington Mall, the National Mall in Washington, the Statue of Liberty, the Alamo, all those people that are trying to get your money. So it's a really strange thing. But when I think about this, the first thing I thought about was I have always argued with people that you get a good value at Disney. Now, I can't wait to hear what everybody else has to say about this. But if you're going to like an NFL game and how much you're paying for a ticket versus what you're getting for entertainment, if you wanted to see U2, and I kind of do, at the Sphere, tickets start at $800 for a night. That's a day ticket to any park you want at Disney World, and a night at Pop, and a meal at Liberty Tree. I don't know. It's one of those things where it's like I try to put it in perspective with other things, but this article says that the prices since Disney World opened up in the 50 years ago, the prices have gone up something like 500%. Allison, do you think that Walt Disney World deserves this honor?
Look, I know a lot of people who had never been to Disney before and have recently gone and been like, why do people do this? They had a terrible time because it's a really complicated thing to figure out. I think that there are actually kind of amazing deals. Things are absolutely too expensive and they have outpaced inflation, and it's inaccessible for a lot of families. But, this year when my family was trying to plan like a different vacation with some friends, we were looking to go to like a dude ranch or some other kind of thing. And I was like, everything for our family of 3 to go anywhere is like $10,000. And I can easily do a week in Disney, and much less than that. We could do much more than that, but there are actual options. And like, there were no dude ranch options that were less than that. And I thought that would be the cheap, fun version of a vacation. So, it can be done smartly, and it can be done like thoughtfully. And I think in a lot of ways, what you get for your money is actually quite a lot at Disney. But I also understand some people might go, I feel like I just don't get it. I'm hot, I'm uncomfortable. There are crowds, and we're spending almost $200 per person per day to be here between the ticket and this mandatory have to get Genie Plus. We're never doing this again. And I've had several friends who have said, yeah, we're done after that.
I like I said, I feel like everybody's going to have thoughts and feelings about this, which I love. When I think about like tourist traps, I think about a place that was down the road from Disney, south of the border. This is the first thing that pops into my head when you say tourist trap. I think of this place, and don't get me wrong. When I was a little kid, I always wanted to stop. We lived in Maryland. We would drive to Florida, and I'd just be like, I want to stop here. And my dad's like, we're not stopping there. That was one of those places where they had the pay toilets, where they had the stalls had like the quarter boxes on it. And you had to drop a quarter in to go into the stalls, which was the first and last time my mom ever went there. She was like, no, we're not ever doing this again.
They did not have those by the 90s, but their hotel rooms were $29 a night, and we stayed there every time on the way down.
But that's what I think about when I think about a tourist trap. I think about that, and I feel like you're getting no value at all. They're just there to like almost like a Simpsons episode. They've got a vacuum to just take the money right out of your pockets, and I know a lot of people think that about Disney.
No, it's absolutely a tourist trap, but it was not that extractive. Best mini golf course I've ever seen in my life was at south of the border. They had a great pool, and those rooms were $29.
Allison on here arguing the pros of south of the border. Wow. You know what, Patrick, I want to go to you next, because something that you said once upon a time resonated with me. And not just one thing. Everything out of your mouth is gold. But you had said one time that like you couldn't give up on Disney at this point, even if you wanted to, because you're too invested.
I'm pot committed.
Not just like the DVC, but also in your passes, but also in your nostalgia and your passion. You're too committed. So, what are your thoughts on all this?
I can see where people think it's a expensive tourist trap. I don't agree. Much like Allison, if I want to go anywhere else, it is going to cost me an arm and a leg, and I'm not going to get as much entertainment. My wife and I were taking a walk, and I was just, talking about being on vacation at Disney World, and I think it's the perfect place for me because as someone who was diagnosed with ADHD very late in life, I know, shocking, really. It's a place where I need to be. Like, I'm bored with riding rides. I can go sit and eat. I can go meet a character. I can go back to my hotel room. I can look for hidden Mickeys. There is so much there, and I don't have to drive anywhere. I feel relatively safe. I know safety is an illusion, but I feel relatively safe, and it's cheaper for me, especially when you consider what I would be paying rack rates for the luxurious hotel rooms that I usually stay in. I just spent a weekend in Times Square, just me and my wife, and it cost us $1,000 easy for a 2-night stay, parking, meals, and a Broadway show. And I loved it. I enjoyed myself. But man, you want to talk about tourist traps. Times Square is the biggest, grossest tourist trap on the face of the earth, and no one wants you there. At least cast members will pretend that they want your presence there. No one wants you in Times Square, and this is where you get when you're like close to the city. I don't feel like a tourist. I know I am, but I'm not like fresh off the farm tourist that like I'm stopping. Look at this building. No, I'm like, I lived in Connecticut. I can go to New York whenever I want. And nobody wants me there. Nobody wants me there. And they want
There's
people
a term for people like Patrick when you live in New York City. It's B&T people, which is bridge and tunnel people. It means you have to cross
How dare you assume I'm from New Jersey? That is for New Jersey people. How dare you? I'm a Connecticut
Jersey,
blue blood.
Long Island, Connecticut, and Westchester, which I call upstate
Rob, you're
New York.
muted. We're not just talking over you.
No, I was going to say the whole reason I went to the 4 shot was I wanted everyone to see Allison's face as you were continuing to talk about all the things you did in Times Square. Because we had the conversation like pre-show where she was like, you did what? Why would you
went
do
to
that?
Olive Garden. That's where you go. When you're there, you're family.
Oh my God.
I did not go to. I'm Italian. I would lose my life if I went
and
to
the
Olive
M&M
Garden
store. There's nothing wrong with that. See, in a lot of ways, to me, like Times Square is Disney. Vegas is Disney. It's like Buc-ee's is Disney. It's that same vibe. Like when you go there and you're looking around, and there's so many different things to see and all that. So I mean, I'm with you, brother. Stephanie, you and I are both former cast. I feel like we wouldn't have worked for a tourist trap, but did we work for a tourist trap? I don't know.
Oh, maybe we did. No, but I agree with both of Allison and Patrick's assessments, honestly. I mean, yes, the cost has skyrocketed. There are many people who say they can never afford to go. But like she said, like Allison just said, there's other places, even a week on the beach in a condo, in Destin or something like that's going to cost you a few $1,000s. And what Patrick said is absolutely true. The Disney bubble is real. You don't really have to leave. You're in that quote unquote safe environment, but you're also Disneyfied. So your Mickey's waffles are there on your plate, and you have the hidden Mickeys in the carpets, and you're walking around looking for characters, and it's a great it's a great repose, I guess, from the regular typical vacation. And I understand people who say, okay, it's not as good or it's not as cost efficient anymore, because they've already been there. They know what they used to get for the money. And yeah, there were more characters. There was nighttime parades in the Magic Kingdom. There was a fireworks show, right? Remember those? So I understand that when you're comparing to previous years, even 10, 20 years down the road, back down the road, that maybe what you're getting now for your money is not as much as you did back then. And I wish that Disney would look at that and consider that, but we're still paying. I mean, I'm looking at going at spring break and it's completely sold out. So I guess there's still people that are willing to go. And the last thing I would say is you don't always have to pay, right? You can go and have a character meal at a hotel. You don't have to go to the park. So there's other ways, like you said, Allison, if you just be smart about it, there are other ways to enjoy.
Yeah, and I also want to make sure that we reiterate Allison's point that south of the border does have the number one miniature golf course. I don't know if I don't know if casino.org has verified that or not, but we'll check with them again.
What casino is a nonprofit? Like that?
True.
That
sounds like a bad business model, doesn't it? I don't know. I don't know.
Exactly.
But I agree with all you guys that I've tried to plan those other trips, and when you start to plan them, especially if you already have DVC or if you already have like Patrick, if you've already invested, you have DVC or you have an annual pass, it's much cheaper to grab a Southwest flight and head down there and stay at Pop and go into the parks than it is to do a beach trip or to do a couple nights in New York. So, I disagree with this. I don't think it's a tourist trap. I do think we all agree that they charge way too much money and nickel and dime at this point, and they're starting to lean that way a little bit. And I think that confusion, to bring it back to what Allison said, that confusion about the whole system makes it feel like a 1990s cell phone plan where they're trying to just get you on every little thing. So yeah, definitely not a cool thing. I do want to acknowledge though that we had a super chat from our good friend Jungle Cruiser, who said we are so screwed with today's youth. Was at Disneyland with two teenage girls. We're talking, and one said Space Mountain is just like Goofy's Sky School. Please help.
Oh, no.
Yeah, that's a completely different problem. Those people do not get it at all. So, well, we got to play the music because I mean it's part. You get what you're paying for the music. A little bit of the dance, the trauma factor. Hey Rob, hey Patrick, if you find yourself questioning the price of Disney and whether it's a poor cost to experience ratio, then most likely it is. I mean. You're not wrong, but I have, I don't know. I've pixie dusted all over, and I'm just like I'm completely bought in. But I mean, don't disagree. That's just common sense. We don't want common sense. We want the fantasy. CK Barry, this is very timely. I just found an old 3-day park hopper for Disneyland from 2019, and it was $315. I looked today, and it was $460. I still think it's good for me and my family, but my kids are older, and so are we. Sad for the next generation. Yeah. And again, thank you, CK Barry, for that super chat. I don't disagree with that either. Is that it's getting so complicated. There was a New York Post article. People read that, right, Allison? New York Post. I'm just making sure. I don't want to say the wrong thing about New York. Okay, just making sure. That was talking about people doing
very catchy headlines. I'll just say that.
Yeah, exactly. That they are that there are people who are having or teaching classes on how to go to Disney. And it seems like if that's actually happening, maybe it's time to go to sandals. It's one of those things where it's just like, I want all inclusive. I just want to pay one price and go. And I think that's why people love the dining plan and things like that. So it's just, there's a lot of complications with the whole plan. But I think we could talk about that ad nauseum. But I just saw that and I was like, this opens a whole new can of worms of things to talk about. Speaking of things that are problematic at Disney parks, if you go into Disney parks, you better have your cell phone, because your cell phone is your key to the magic, let's say. And oh, by the way, is that us? Is that the four of us just hanging out on Main Street looking at a phone? I feel like it kind of is. So there was a cell phone outage. It didn't just happen for Disney, but it's a reminder of the fact that you have to have your cell phone with you when you're at Disney and rely on it, almost look down at it the entire time. I was at Disney World today. I was at 50s prime time. The woman said, you got to put away your walkie-talkies, which I was thinking, okay, I can put away my phone, but I need to make plans too. So make up your mind. What are you trying to do here, Disney? So the cell phones went down, and yes, you can connect to the Wi-Fi, but if you're on the Skyliner on your way over, that's not going to help you. So Stephanie, let me go to you first about this. I mean, I assume you're the planner in your party, and you are probably constantly looking for that next reservation, no matter what that is.
Yes, 100%. And the walk-up reservations, well, you're not going to know about that unless you go to the restaurant then if your app isn't working. The Walt Disney World Experience app is buggy anyway. I think we've talked about that ad nauseum here as well. So that frustrates you anyway. And then to have this happen, I'm sure it was extremely frustrating to people there. I have AT&T, I didn't experience it, but maybe it was, certain cell phone towers. They said it was nationwide, though. I'm not sure. Did anyone else have AT&T?
I'm cheap. I've got Google Fi. And it didn't go down at all. But my friend in Chicago did have AT&T, and it did go down, and she was only ever able to text if she was connected to Wi-Fi.
It's crazy.
Allison, What are your thoughts on this?
Oh, well, I think it's a really big problem if you have to rely on Disney Wi-Fi, not just if you're on the Skyliner. That is slow. It's off and number. I usually just turn it off and just use my my data, because it's just not reliable and good. And then I imagine, oh my God, what it would be like in the parks if everybody has to use it to make every reservation. This must be inching along at a snail's pace, and then the app is bad anyway, so you're trying to do stuff, and then you're getting the stitch ate the page or whatever every time you're trying to just sounds like a total nightmare. And yes, as you said, Rob, is this reminder that you can't do anything without the phone and looking down all day long.
Yeah, and Disney still does paper maps. Obviously, Universal has started the process of getting rid of paper maps, so they're leading the pack on that. And I don't know that I ever loved a Universal map. I feel like there's enough. You could pretty much figure it out. But don't say anything, Patrick. I don't know where you're going with that, but you have a weird smile on your face. I do want to share, however, I love Universal's social team. They are amazingly funny. They posted this. It says, us trying to use our cell phones this morning, with this shot from the ET queue with the speak and spell and the so funny. Patrick, you want to finish us off on that? Anything about cell phones in the parks?
Oddly enough, the Universal app is somehow worse than my Disney experience. I don't know how. I would be alarmed to have to navigate there with a map on that app. It's horrible. It absolutely sucks. It sucks in general how attached to our cell phones we are, but I'm not here to go on and on about that. I'm an elder millennial, not a boomer. You don't have to worry about that with me. I used to lock my phone in the safe and just be done with it. I had a very stressful job. I didn't have a work phone. Everything was attached to my cell phone, and I needed to just shut that off. And I hate that I can't now. I remember when we were getting a lot of the announcements, they said that there were changes coming to Genie Plus and that you'd be able to pre-plan. My favorite thing about the trip used to be I knew everything that I was going to do. I had my fast passes lined up. I had my meal lined up. I had my fast passes lined up so that I could walk around the park in the order that I like to. And we're not able to really
Yes.
do that
Yes.
anymore because we can't plan like we used to be able to plan with Genie Plus.
Yep.
And this is the stuff we talked about in the first segment, is that there's a loss of value, and things that were free cost money, and they suck. Like, they just suck.
In summary, they suck. There you go. No,
I had something else,
dis-
but that's all that came out.
I don't disagree, dude. It's the same thing. No, I totally get that. And a friend of mine was at Disney, and he was like, "Man, this between the Genie Plus and these reservations, I'm really getting my exercise because again, you've got Frozen on one side of the park, but wait, we're eating at Garden Grill, and you got to schlep the kids from one side to the other because you already made your Garden Grill reservation 60 days ago, but your Frozen one is just the only time you could get when you were doing your Genie Plus." So yeah, I agree.
Yep. And Patrick and I have kids exact same age, and so I remember the days when it was just like me and my adult friends or my dad walking around the park,
beautiful.
and being so careful about, like, we're not going to expend any extra energy. We're going to, like, make this make sense. And for now, not to be able to do that when it's 110 degrees and I have a 5-year-old lying on my chest and I'm walking like slow, like to the other side of it, because that's when
Stephanie has so many kids.
A lightning lane, like, oh.
She does. But hey, we have a super chat. Jungle Cruiser said, "Did you hear that this is, I believe this is back to what we were talking about before. Did you hear Universal Studios Hollywood accepted a 30-year-old voucher for a return visit? It was for 2 adults and 2 children. Good job." Yeah. So thanks, Jungle Cruiser, for pointing that out. But that's, Universal. I feel like the thing is Universal gets to set the bar pretty low. Like, we have very little expectations of Universal. I'm just being honest. We have very little expectations of Universal, and so when Disney does something, we can look at Universal and go, "Well, Universal never asked for park reservations." Well, Universal doesn't. They say right up front about the Express Pass, and the Express Pass has been a ridiculously high price from the beginning.
Ridiculous.
Yes.
But they give it to people.
Yeah, they give it to people who stay in the hotel, and on the other side of that, you can use it, like, just walk up and use it. You don't need a time. You don't need a reservation to come back. Even if you have, like, the low-end one where you just get to ride each attraction once, you don't show up at 3:24. You show up and go in. How about that? How have they figured that out? I mean, again, that's one of those things where we I think have fairly low expectations of Universal in comparison because we hold Disney to a higher standard. They charge us more money for things. They're the original, so yeah.
Do they though? I don't think, like, price comparison wise is that far off.
No, I don't. Anymore.
But what we really
day
need,
pass to Universal is more expensive.
Yeah.
Once they got Harry Potter, they were like, no, we can make that paper now.
And I think, Rob, I mean, you can, hold me to this, but I really do think in the Epic universe, they're going to have boarding groups.
Ooh.
I really do.
Oh, I would not be shocked. But we need Epic Universe to come out of the gate and just whoop. Like, that's the only way things are going to get better at Disney. If the numbers start to tick, that's what we need. We need Universal to be a force with Epic Universe.
Yeah, and two episodes ago we talked about, like, what is going to be their retaliation? What has Disney got planned? Because there is
the Potter Swatter.
But there is nothing happening. Like, other than 2 refurbs, the 2 Tiana refurbs, those are not brand new attractions. Those are holes in their current lineup because they're people eaters that aren't open right now and will have been closed for a long time. But other than those 2, everything else is, wouldn't it be cool if we did this to Dinoland? Wouldn't it be cool if we did this to...
We're not gonna, but what if?
It'd be cool, though. It'd be cool,
you like that
right?
show on Disney Plus? Marvel What If? What if we made changes to the parks?
When they reopen Tiana and they reopen the Country Bears, they're just reopening things that were already there. But the problem's going to be, we used to be able to go into the Country Bears to get some air conditioning and enjoy that show, and now it's going to be probably an 8-hour line to get in, I assume, at the very beginning.
I mean,
maybe,
it'll just be Tom and
God
Jason.
forbid, virtual queue.
Tom and Jason.
There you go. All right, let's move on to limited time offerings. There are a lot of things that we've talked about. We talked about, like, Black History Month offerings that they had food-wise and things that I'm always a proponent of these things because when you go to Disney during these times, it's really neat to see that they have something different each time, and I like it when it celebrates, either like, I don't know, like when it celebrates Black History Month or Women's History Month or things like that. They do have these offerings for. They've already announced the Easter displays at the. That are coming, and honestly, the Grand Floridian Easter displays are well worth the trip. If you guys have never gone to see those big eggs, that's definitely something that you should do. At Disneyland last week, they had the Mighty Ducks, the Anaheim Mighty Ducks food and merchandise and Duck Days. So, Duck Days were 2 days, 22nd and 23rd. But the funny thing was that the Stanley Cup was on display, and I'm like, y'all won that in 2007. It seems like maybe you don't bring that out.
They've won one more recently than that, haven't they?
Nope, 2007. Wow. So yeah, exactly.
2007 is what, 4 years ago?
Yeah.
COVID brain kicking in over there. Okay, so here's
total denial.
Here's the other limited time offering, and I'll let you guys go to town on this later. But the limited time offering that I wanted to talk about too is that Women's History.
How am I on this episode every time?
Full list of food and beverage coming for Women's History Month. But what I love about this is for Black History Month, they had beignets at the Outpost, and so for Women's History Month, they have beignets at the Outpost. So I don't know what we're really doing here. I mean, Allison, tell me how excited you are having Women's History Month celebrated by Tiana's famous man-catching beignets. Please tell me all about that. I want to hear all about that right now.
No, I'm not going there. You're not baiting me today. I'm going to stay positive here and say that all of these food offerings look 1,000 times better than what they put out for Black History Month. None of that even looked appetizing. A lot of this at least looks like Instagrammable and pretty. None of that stuff looked even special. This is like, all right, I need this stuff. I had to go through the list and it was like, women's history. Oh, they're just using women's characters to sell like 75% of this. That's not really women's history. Like what? Whatever. The food at least looks good, and that's as far as I'm gonna
go. Stephanie, you can talk about any of it.
Yeah, right. Well, I understand that they, want to make their flans or whatever they make because they like a lot of mousses and things like that into character shapes, and that's fine. I really thought, and correct me if I'm wrong, I thought that some of the recipes were by the female chefs at the resort or the park or something like that, this particular restaurant. Am I correct in saying that?
Yeah.
Did I misread that?
I believe you are.
Yeah, so I think that makes a lot more sense. I mean, if you're going to celebrate women, like let's do, the women pastry chef at the Grand Floridian or whoever it is, I think that makes a lot of sense to do that. And I'm fine with them doing an apple fritter for, Snow White or something. That's cute.
Yeah. But you also love the Easter offerings, right?
I do. I love that they can do the cottage there, and it's not as grand. Obviously, it's called the Grand Cottage, but it's not as grand as the gingerbread house at Christmas time. But it's still really pretty, and I like that they have the particular offerings that you can only get there for the Easter treats. But I wish that they did more. I know they do the cavalcades in the park. I wish that they would do a little, like for St. Patrick's Day, like why don't they light the castle green on that day? Let's turn all the drinks green or something, just for that one day. Like do a little bit extra. That's not very much. You have the lighting packages.
They'll make a cupcake and a pin. I don't know what else
you'll want. Like it.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
This one
Patrick.
For National Hat Day.
Exactly.
I was going to say.
I was there.
Yeah. How did you get in? How did you get a park reservation? That's crazy.
I don't know. It was real tough.
Anything on this before we move on, Patrick?
Why don't we get better things like this in Walt Disney World? Like, how cool would Orlando Magic Days be? Or the Solar Bears? Or anything. You don't even have to put it in the parks. You can put it in downtown. I know we're going to talk a minute about the NBA getting destroyed, but like, that's so cool. If I was a local fan and I got to celebrate my team at the happiest place on earth, that'd be pretty sweet. Also, they should just call it Women's History Month. Thank you.
You think that's going to get you some points?
Her
Is that what you
story.
think?
Her story.
I get points. I give the
Yeah.
points, Rob.
Oh, that's I'm
I
sorry.
like that Patrick is the kind of guy that would wear like, this is what a feminist looks like, with absolutely no irony. I think that's the favorite part about Patrick.
Hub. Let's.
I would like to be
y'all-
off the show now.
No, we're just getting started, buddy. Anyway, let's talk about food and wine. Why do I keep saying food and wine? Food and wine and Flower and Garden are too close to each other. They really are. It's too close to each other. They need to call it something else. Sorry, it's food and wine and Flower and Garden. It's too much. You need to call it something
They can
else.
just call it
Festival of
garden
the
and
Arts.
flower. It'd be easier.
That's all I'm asking. That's all I'm asking here. So we've talked a little bit about it. We talked about it last week, and we talked about the bands coming for Garden Rocks and some of the food and things, but they've already started putting the topiaries up. Of course, Encanto, known famously for all the flowers that they have in that, they have the Encanto topiaries are up, and then they also have they've started to put the citrus blossom stickers and things on the Odyssey, which was the imagination station for the food and now I'm messing that up, the Festival of the Arts. And then this stuff over here, and I'm hoping this makes Stephanie want to talk about this, the English Tea Garden and the Shakespeare Garden returning to Epcot International Flower and Garden Festival. One of the things I wanted to ask you about this, Stephanie, is I think you have probably don't have an opinion on this, but I have to ask this question. So they just redid these bathrooms. This has nothing to do with this story, by the way. Rank these bathrooms for me because they just redid them. My wife went into them and said, the floors are always wet. There's never been a time where I have been in that bathroom and the floors haven't been wet. You could talk about the Shakespeare Garden, or you could talk about the bathrooms, but how are you feeling about food and, did it again, Flower and Garden Festival?
Flower and Garden, I think we said this before, it's my second favorite behind our first favorite. What is it? Festival of the Arts, right?
Farts.
Yep.
So farts. Can't believe
Stop.
Patrick's got it. But yes, the bathrooms, I don't know, maybe they're just trying to get you used to, being in the UK, the River Thames or something like that. They're just kind of flooding that area for you. I love that they do the Twinings tea the little teacups and the saucers, and it's the types of herbs and flowers and things like that they use in the tea, which I think is really cute and neat. I wish that they would explain more about what an English garden is. Apparently that's a thing. My sister-in-law does one in her backyard. And so it's the style, it's the design of the garden. And so maybe they could incorporate that later. But then you also have the Japanese gardens, and you also have, over in France, you have certain flowers that they put in there for that. So I think that they do a really good job of trying to keep it for that pavilion and true to what it is in that country.
Okay, that's I appreciate that insight. Flower and Garden used to be my favorite before Festival of the Arts existed. It was my favorite, and then I ended up going to Festival of Holidays, and I love that one. And then Food and Wine has really grown on me over the years. It feels like the original. But Festival of the Arts, I think, is by far my favorite one. One of the things that they've done here, too, is, and we kind of reported on this earlier, is that they've set up these 2 kiosks in the World Celebration, and now we know that they are going to be Festival Market kiosk. I really thought, this is where we used to have a big pin station. Maybe they would still do pins in here, but these are definitely going to be Festival Market booths in the middle of this. So, Patrick, anything on Flower and Garden?
I'm excited. I'm going to be there in 40 days. I'm really looking forward to it. I like how I'm really sorry the name of the booth escapes me right now, but it's doing early spring, full bloom, and then like late spring menus. I think it's really cool. I'm all about the food at this festival. The Flower and Garden has consistently had good bites. I do believe 60 new food items, lots of good beer. Big shout out to whoever is oh my God, I lost the curating the beer list for these festivals. They're doing a great job. Keep up the good work. I hope you're listening, and I hope you become a wig.
Yeah. Allison, anything on this before we move on?
No, I think my only comment is these topiaries have just become incredible over the last 20 years. They look amazing. I've always been a huge fan of this festival, but like seeing the movement there with like the Isabella as she's like throwing the flowers in the air, and like there's just so much life to them. It's yeah. I mean, I don't even need to eat anything. I just like walking around and looking at the topiaries and taking pictures and seeing how they change over the years.
Gotcha. Very cool. All right, so let's talk about this a little bit. I think with Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, one of the things that we've universally sort of not I don't want to say complained about, because we want to look on the bright side of this, but maybe we have complained, is that all of these aliens and critters and droids and things that we thought were going to bring a kinetic energy to this land haven't. I feel like there is that kinetic energy at Avengers Campus, because you've got the little shows that happen, inadvertently, and sometimes you'll see the spy walking around, and sometimes you'll see, Kylo and that little show happen. But it feels like it's few and far between in comparison. So there was something that happened on Twitter this week where some former Imagineers had talked about this L character. It might be Ellie, that it was supposed to be a roaming character that was supposed to carry people through the park. And they're saying this can still exist, that the bridges that were built are high enough that this could still be a thing that they could do. It was obviously cut for budget, but it was supposed to bring a very, real feel to Galaxy's Edge. This thing would come almost like a Main Street vehicle, would come and pick people up in front of the garage over, at Black Spire, and then take them out to the Resistance outpost and bring them back. I want to hear how everybody feels about this. I want to start with you on this one, Patrick, and I want to compare this to something right away. Do you remember the Radio Disney riverboats at Animal Kingdom?
Of course.
The people would wait 9 hours to get on and then get
in
off
the
at
sun.
the next stop. Yeah, I feel like that's this.
So here's the thing: this Ellie thing is never happening. Once again, we're playing Disney Parks What If. Why don't we have half of the things that Disneyland has in Galaxy's Edge? We can just start with that. Like, why is Chopper terrifying cast members in Disneyland and I don't get to hug Chopper? Because I will hug that little war criminal. He is my favorite and he will be hugged. Okay. This isn't happening. I can just tell you, if it happens, I will once again shotgun a beer in like 30 seconds on here. It's just not going to happen.
Is that the best you could do? I feel like that would.
That's the best I could
do. I feel like you'd enjoy
I
that
want
too much.
more things. Give me the characters that Disneyland has before we worry about this thing that's never going to be here. The stupid cruise is closed. We don't need to pretend that we're in continuity. Give me the characters that are at Disneyland. Give them to me. Sure, this walk around thing would be wonderful, but it's not going to happen. Give me a nighttime parade. We had those once.
I feel like this particular panel is the nighttime parade. We need that nighttime parade.
Yes.
Stephanie, I feel like, as someone who did go on the Star Cruiser, sorry, Patrick, as someone who did go on the Star Cruiser, wouldn't you have loved to have seen this kind of a thing happen? But I also feel like, would this have been the kind of thing that only Star Cruiser people would get to ride?
Probably, and it's better than the box truck that they put us in to get from the thing to the Galaxy's Edge. But I don't know how big this was supposed to be. I mean, if it's carrying 3, 4, 6 people, something like that, and how are you going to be able to walk it through all the people going around, because that's very small area as you're likening it to Main Street. Main Street's pretty big. I mean, it's got the trolley track and everything like that, 2 sidewalks on either side. And I feel like Galaxy's Edge is so like cramped in there sometimes, especially when there's a lot of people. So I don't know that this would, like Patrick said, I don't know that it would really work, but it looks awesome. And they should totally make it into a Star Wars parade at Hollywood Studios.
Love that. However, to Patrick's point, it's all going to start at Disneyland first. They're not going to do it in Florida first. They're going to do it at Disneyland first. Allison, close us out on this one.
This is absolutely not the Radio Disney cruise. They had on those boats. I'm not even going to talk about it. I was excited about this, not excited because obviously it's not happening. Patrick's right, but it looks really cool, and it's something that my kid would actually ride because she the other stuff is too intense for her, even if she can meet the height requirement. She just enjoys the being in the land, but there's not much for her to physically do. Anyway, this is not the Radio Disney thing. That thing was absurd. It had literal like terrariums of like tiny little like lizards, and they kind of were like, here, look. Like, I mean, you couldn't make it up. Speaking of tourist traps, this is like cool, and maybe the lines would be bad and be hard to get on, but like, I don't know, it's kind of like the Main Street like vehicles. Like, if that actually was like added in some significant way, like they have on Main Street, this would be a really cool thing going through the land.
But again, I think that Radio Disney cruise, the reason I brought that up is because if this only holds 6 people, what's the line going to be like to get those people on here? Because, I mean, it's insane. Like,
it's your boarding group.
Yeah, virtual queue. Talk about
that's actually a really good idea.
This virtual queue starts at 5 a.m.
Yes,
that's a great idea, though. We're not boarding groups still for Rise, right?
No, not for us.
No. Yeah, but that would have been a great idea. Is hey, while you're waiting, here's your boarding group's time on the Ellie, the L, the eel.
Yeah,
that would have been nice.
Well, again, that riverboat was you would wait hours.
Yeah,
because
but part of the reason was there were like 4 attractions open, like at that point in Animal Kingdom, right? Like there were just weren't that many things, and my family walked around the park. My dad very loudly being like, "Oh, and that river cruise was so great," to try to convince people to get in line for that and out of the line for everything else.
Genius.
Well, but that brought kinetic energy to Animal Kingdom, seeing those boats come through. Not, I mean, they still do like the flotillas that come by every now and then with Pocahontas or Pluto on it. But I mean, it was cool to see that come around, and there were some things you would see, kind of like taking the train around Magic Kingdom. But for the most part, the problem was there were like 3 docks, and then everybody was like paired up there, and you didn't have to get off. And so, it's like, let's see how many people are getting off here. 3? Okay, 3 more people can get on this. So that's what I thought of when this happened. But anyway, if everybody is correct on here, it's never going to happen anyway. So there you go. So speaking of things that are never going to happen, I don't understand why we don't have a coexisting of Soarin' Around the World and Soarin' Over California, because we have multiple theaters. Why can't we have both of these? But for the 100th anniversary celebration, which had weird timing because it started in October in Epcot, but in January in Disneyland, some kind of it took a while to get here sort of a thing. But when they started it, they said, okay, what can we do that would make this cool? Oh, we're going to put Soarin' Over California back in the land. And so they did that in October, I believe, or maybe September of last year, and then they ran it through they're running it through this next week. So you could go and do Soarin' Over California, and the lines were crazy long for this attraction, and I feel like this is something that people want. They kind of throw it out there for the Food and Wine Festival in California, but I don't understand, Patrick, why can't we have both?
I don't want both. I just want Soaring Over California. Soaring Around the World it's awful. It is awful. You can only see if you are directly in the dead center. Everything's bending. The CGI is terrible. I am so happy I got to ride this with my daughter, and she got to experience that attraction for what it should be. I think if you opened 2 different theaters and said, hey, here's the line for Soarin' Over California, here's Soarin' Around the World, the line for California would be 10 times as long as Soarin' Over the World, because people who haven't been there are going to do Around the World, and all the OG people are going to do California because it's a significantly better attraction. It is a better experience.
Okay. Allison, you agree? It's a better experience and it should be there all the time?
I fully agree. I mean, no one wants it to go away. Everyone was elated when it was coming back temporarily, and it's going away so quickly. My daughter wouldn't ride it because she heard in the pre-show, like, oh, if you're afraid of heights, you don't want to do this. And then she decided she was too scared. But luckily, after bedtime one night, I went myself. So I was able to experience it last time. And I'm grateful for that.
Stephanie?
I think it should be randomized, like Tower of Terror. You don't know what you're going to get, but you're going to get one of them.
I was going to say, all you would do is make Patrick mad if that one came up. It'd just be like, yeah. My son
I would audibly yell, no!
I don't know. The screen-based attractions should change more than they do. I think we're finally getting new stuff in Star Tours for Ahsoka later this year, but I mean,
Right.
that was last year. Why couldn't we have done it last year? I don't know. And same thing with Toy Story. I thought Toy Story, like, we changed it once for Toy Story 3 and never again. So it just doesn't seem to make sense. They have that technology to do it. It obviously makes people excited to go back and try this thing again. When they added the Coco scene to PhilharMagic, people went back to PhilharMagic. And when they've added, when they changed this to California, Soarin' over California, people go nuts over it again. So it seems like you are missing an opportunity to do something that shouldn't cost a lot of money, but will, you talk about capacity. People want to ride these attractions again when they see this opportunity. And maybe
I think
balance the parks
you
out.
actually brought up the best solution to this is have it be like Star Tours instead of just around the world and California. Have it be like Star Tours. Have it randomized. That'd be really cool. You don't know what you're going to get. And would it have been too much to have takeoff and landing filmed at each individual park?
Right.
Would that have cost so much? Like, give me a little more realism. I don't like that I'm landing in Disneyland during Christmas time when I'm in January in Walt Disney World.
Summertime.
Yeah.
All right, so let's move on to the next topic. And this is a thing that really gets me too, is that I'm going to compare this to Toontown in California. Toontown in California, they took it down and then they like renovated everything and then they brought it back up again and then nothing worked. Things kept breaking. The fountain kept breaking. They're like, put the walls back up. We got to fix that fountain. Put the walls back up. We got to fix Goofy's playground. The AstroTurfs is getting messed up here. You got to put that up. And it's just nonstop. And so I feel like that the Epcot World Celebration, which also took 900 years to complete. I mean, it was an empty center of the park. They demolished it and built a new empty center of the park. It doesn't seem like it would have been that complicated to do, but we hear about all these things like the lighting in the ground wasn't working, and I'm sure it was complicated, but you guys had a lot of time to work on that kind of stuff. The rusty things that are artwork, but people thought were benches that they were sitting on, that kind of stuff. And now we have these lights that they've put these boxes around. This thing just opened. This just opened, and now they were like, oh, wait a minute, this thing. Look at this round. Okay, so they took the concrete, the exact same color as the concrete around or on the ground, and they made a lump for people to trip over. And so now they're fixing it by destroying what they just laid out, putting these boxes over top of it until they make it fixed. And again, they clearly went to it quickly, but Stephanie, why can't they get this right the first time? I mean, do we need to have, well, here's what we need to do. Bring your kids in to play test everything, and then maybe we'll be able to open it after. I don't know.
Definitely that would work. They would figure out every little thing that will be pulled apart or broken or stomped on or made wet, definitely.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't know. Why do the stickers and the decals fall off? Like, why does that happen? Why does the paint on the Toy Story land, because of the no shade, people don't need shade, let's say. So why is that fading within the first year? Who knows? I feel like Disney doesn't think these things through, and maybe they're not cost effective or something to put an extra coat of shellac on it or something to keep it from fading. But I can get that in a spray can from Home Depot and I spray my wreaths outside or my Mickey door hanger,
Stephanie's going to come to the park with her Home Depot spray and fix it. She's like, if y'all won't do this, I'll fix it. I'll fix it all. That's great. Allison.
That's right.
This reminds me of, I don't know if I got to say this last time because the same thing happened, same memory jogged in my brain with the benches or the things that look like benches. But there's this park, Brooklyn Bridge Park, that they like developed, I don't know, like 10, 15 years ago. And they put these like, almost like mushroom cap giant, like metal things for kids to like climb on and play on all over the park. Well, summer happened and the sun hit them, and then these kids were getting third-degree burns on their hands because like no one had thought that like maybe giant things of metal for kids to climb on was like maybe not a good idea, and they immediately had to be removed and they had to figure out something else to put there. And that's what this reminds me of, because it's just like too many things, and it shouldn't be that complicated because it's really just a park. Like it shouldn't be that hard to figure out how to like create an open space with a couple, maybe some shade, maybe some cool lighting effects, and a statue. That's what this is. Like, why is that so complicated to do without having people like falling all over the place or getting their like white shorts with rust all over the back because you created an attractive nuisance that looks like a bench for them to sit on.
Yep, absolutely. I want to take a stop here for a second. We have a super chat. Another one from CK Barry. Holiday overlay for Soarin. Holidays around the world. Yes. Do that. Make that happen. Yes, CK Barry for the win. Love it. Love it. Love it. We need to make that happen. It should happen. Why didn't it happen? I mean, we have this whole festival of the holidays. Why wouldn't we have something like that? I feel like it should be possible, maybe not too expensive to do.
You could just go to all the parks, too. That'd be a lot of fun.
Go to all the parks for their decorations. Yes, yeah. I would love that. Yeah, that's very exciting stuff. So thank you for the super chat. We appreciate it. One thing I wanted to point out, and I saw somebody in the chat talking about it. It was People of the Mouse was talking about how along these same lines that Moana the Journey of Water, inspired by Moana, had some stuff break. It was these walls of water, and they were boxed off. And they're like, "How does this break? These are walls of water. People don't even touch them. They just walk through them. Like, you can't blame the guests on this one." That's a great point. And I didn't bring it up before because I was like, this light thing is silly enough as it is, but you're right. I mean, with all of this breaking and most of the stuff that's there, the kids aren't touching things like they were like at the Winnie the Pooh interactive queue. Like we had the Tigger bounce that went away because they didn't test it ahead of time and kids were getting their feet caught in it. And it's like, okay, how could you not have tested this before? And then they had to like scrap it and remove it. And for this, like, so many things that just aren't working. And so I feel like
how
the
is the
World
solution putting those boxes there?
I mean, like, that's not the
why
that's
is
not the
the
right
solution
solution.
not just turn off the water feature? Like, I don't understand.
My guess
they had leftover boxes from putting them around those light poles.
My guess is what broke is the thing that turns it off when you walk through it.
Oh, God.
That's what I'm guessing broke, because that's the only reason to shut it down like that. Like, well, here's the dry path over here, and you're not gonna get too wet. You'll just walk through the water. It's like magic. Uh-oh.
How is there not like a faucet handle? When that breaks, for them to just do it.
Well,
real quick,
that's a problem.
Emergency shut-off valve.
That's a problem for another day. Let's talk about food. There's a new food booth that has dawned Grand Avenue, and a big mistake because we've talked about it before. It is not Muppet themed. Why is it not Muppet themed if it's in Grand Avenue? It is the ice cold hydraulics, which of course makes all the sense in the world. But these things look insanely good. There's we had our folks do some reviews of it. So they have these candy painted cinnamon rolls, which look really good, and then these bouncing mini churros, savory churros topped with Coca-Cola and bourbon, candied bacon, sriracha aioli, and scallions. Now, I'm not sure I'm in love with that idea because I want my churros to be sweet, but that's a thing. So this is open now. Patrick, you said you're going in 40 days. Are you going to run to this place?
No, I'm not. Why isn't it Muppet themed? Why is it themed like it should be in Cars Land? What were you going to put Cars Land here and you chickened out because we revolted about things? That sounds about right. This makes no sense. I guess it meets the theme of Hollywood, which is that even still the theme of the park? I don't know.
Disney's Hyperion XL.
I don't know.
These things look gross. They look gross. I do like a good Jack and Coke Frosty though, so I could go with that. Yeah, I don't know, man. Make it Muppets. Have it serve Camilla's chicken nuggets, and it could have been like a vegan booth because it could have been Camilla's chicken nuggets. That would have been a great idea. Hire me. Just hire me. I'm doing stuff like this all the time now, Disney. Let's go. I'm on a different level today.
Well,
how did Zach Ridley let something floor related go by? That's his thing. He does floors.
Yeah. Stephanie, the next time you go to Disney, are you going to cruise on by and rev up your taste buds? Are you going to do that?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I did not see that sign before. I don't know. I might try the churros for you, Rob. I might, and just see.
Okay.
A savory churro, maybe.
Yeah.
We'll see.
All right, Allison. Anything on this one before we move on? Nah,
No, I don't want anything there. And I like cinnamon buns, but those look like they came out of a vending machine and they opened a packet and then put them on a thing. They look in no way appealing to me.
That
Anything on that menu that I would order is just like a Mickey bar or something I could get literally anywhere. I'm not at all excited. But they need more options because a lot of the, like, anytime I need water or something in Hollywood Studios, and this is actually a lot of the parks, there's this huge line from these carts. And considering we can just like wave a magic band and buy something, like it's a sign that they don't have enough. So at least it's something. But no, this does not look appealing to me.
Okay. Well, I mean, don't you think it should have been sponsored by Pillsbury then? Because it looks like you could just crack open a can of Pillsbury biscuits and it would have been the same thing. No?
I think Pillsbury would look better.
Yes.
These look like the kind that are like in the vending machine for like 4 years and you don't know when they...
It looks like our children made them. Both of these dishes look like our children made them.
Wow. All right, so let's move on to my favorite segment. It came from the parks, and when we talk about this, we're talking about all of these articles that we run on WDWNT.com that are these weird, silly stories that you go, no, they didn't. People didn't do that. That's not a real thing that happened. We were going to do it last week. We ran out of time. So this week we have more choices for the people on the panel. And here's how this game works is that I'm going to read all the headlines and then you guys each pick one that you want to talk about. It could be the same one that the last person talked about. But lots of interesting, kind of interesting ones this week to choose from. This one, the guest falls into the Snow White wishing well at Disneyland Park. I don't understand the mechanics of this one because it's, I just don't. This one, a video of a drunk man strips to underwear and claims he's been kidnapped while being trespassed from Walt Disney World. Again, the longer the title, the better the story. 56-year-old twin sisters. 56-year-old twin sisters. Let's reiterate that. Brawl at Disney World over the TV, and one is arrested. And then this one, Massachusetts police detective arrested at Epcot for hitting sheriff's deputy after trying to get into private event and threatening security guard. I don't even know how Google let us get that headline in. That is so long. Video, this one is, guest sets off this is a gender reveal, a pink smoke bomb to celebrate a special event at Disneyland Paris. And then this last one, a cast member rescues a fallen shoe from the rivers of America in the Magic Kingdom. And I always left that one off because, first of all, in that story, no one claims the shoe that we saw. So, again, I love that. So let's start with Allison. What do you like this week?
There are so many this week. It's just so many, and I don't even know where to start. So it's just like I gotta keep it light. Let's start with like the falling into the well. As soon as I saw her like upside down with her feet up, because this is almost like a flip book where you see like this like everything looks good and then she's upside down and in the well. The feet up reminded me in PhilharMagic when Donald goes over the edge and then falls back into at the end of PhilharMagic. That's what this looks like to me. It also looks a lot deeper than I thought it was, and I know there's like gross water in there. I feel very badly for her. I don't understand the mechanics of that or how that happened, but everyone take note. Don't do this on your cruise ship on the veranda. It's not a good idea. Like, not a really good center of gravity. Please don't do that. Yeah. The other ones are too stressful to talk about. So again, I think everyone should watch this. Please don't watch the 44-minute video of that man stripping down and yelling. That's too much of anyone's time. What you should watch is the rescuing of the shoe because it's like zen and calming and like, oh, this is lovely. We're solving a problem slowly. And the other stuff is just like humanity is doomed and I can't touch it.
Wow, that is a lot. Humanity is doomed. Okay, all right. I believe in the chat. Todd says so many questions. We all have very many questions, Todd. So absolutely, let's talk about Patrick's hat, but also what do you want to talk about here?
I got a done butt hat at work.
You're like,
I don't know. It just came to me at work. They're like, "You're a Disney fan. Here, have this duck butt hat," and it's amazing. And when Allison brought it up, I was like, "Oh, I have a duck butt hat. It is
You're like, I
official
have a
Parks
prop.
merchandise too." Yeah, look at that.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm a
Nice.
prop comic. I'm very much in the vein of Carrot Top, except I don't do a lot of steroids. Um, I'm gonna I'm gonna take
I used to go to the
the
gym
shoe.
with Carrot Top. True story. When I lived in Winter Park, that guy is jacked.
Um, I'm gonna take the shoe. I'm gonna take the shoe because no one claimed the shoe. What was the cast member doing? You don't get paid enough for that at all. I want everyone to, if you drop something into a body of water at Disney World, just let it go. Let it go. Let it go. It's one with the water and brain amoebas. Just don't your shoe, your wallet, your phone, your child, they're gone. They're just don't
You're
drop
like,
things in
you're
water
like,
there.
You're like, I don't even want it back, dude. It's
No,
just like,
who wants that
it's gone.
shoe?
It's gone forever.
That shoe's not
It's kind of like
good.
dropping your phone in the toilet. You're like, well, I guess I
There goes
have
that
no
phone.
I have
Yep.
no phone. I don't know how that happens
then
so
you
much,
can't
by
be
the
in
way,
Disney
but it's a
World.
thing. Yeah, exactly. Right. Back to the top. Stephanie, what you got?
So I have twins, and they're not 56 years old. Thank you. And I do know, medical minute here, that if you get a bite, like say at a bar or something like that in a brawl, that a human bite a lot of times gets infected more than say a dog bite or a cat bite. Now the cat bite and the dog bite, you have the canines that they can, sort of puncture wounds. They can be deeper, but a human bite has a lot of bacteria, and you do need to really, really clean that, and you need antibiotics. And why are you fighting with your sister over television when you're 56? I say, you know what? Let's set some boundaries here, people. Let's pay and get that extra room. You can have it adjoining. You can have two different bathrooms. Let's go with that. You don't need to assault your sister.
Stephanie, you did notice where they were from, right?
Louisiana.
Of
Of course.
just throwing that out there, just letting you know that they were from Louisiana. Yeah. I don't. How does an altercation with a sibling get so bad the police get involved? I don't understand.
True story. I had multiple of those cases when I was doing criminal law, and I had one with twin sisters in their 50s.
Wow.
It was some kind of like Grey Garden situation. They lived together for a very long time, unmarried, and were frequently fighting with each other. And I have other funny stories to tell about that particular case, which we can do in the post show.
Wow. Okay.
Oh my
Yes.
gosh.
Yes.
It's
We
a
can talk
thing.
about that in the post show. So let's talk about this. And quite honestly, F in the chat for Disney Quest, because Disney Quest gone too soon, I feel like. But when they got rid of Disney Quest, they just demolished the entire thing, and they're like, we're gonna build the coolest thing ever. It's the NBA experience. You're gonna love it. And they build the NBA experience, and it opens up in August of 2019 to zero applause. They have it there. I didn't ever go into this thing. I don't know if anybody here did, but I would have liked to have gone in and seen what it was about. And I love that they have extra offerings. I went to the Void at Disney Springs, and that was amazing. And I hate that that's gone. But the NBA experience opened in August, and then COVID happened in March, and then it never opened up again. And then they waited. They were still trying to figure it out until like 2021. They're like, do we want to reopen this? And they finally went, nah, we're not going to reopen it. We're just going to take this behemoth of a building and just leave it like anchoring like a boat anchor at the end of the west end of Disney Springs. So they have filed now for a demolition of this. And of course, they're not going to demolish the whole thing because there is a restaurant attached now. And I feel like those folks are doing pretty well. The City Works Eatery and Poorhouse. Let's start with you, Patrick. You said you've never been. I know you've been to the City Works because you and I went there for your birthday, but never to NBA experience, huh?
I was really looking forward to it too. I actually enjoyed the NBA experience at Universal before it became a terrifying chocolate nightmare with robots that scare me. I don't know. I feel like there has to be something like this. Sports are insanely popular right now. You're seeing women's sports raking in huge ratings. There's a women's professional volleyball league. sports are huge, and it seems like there's nothing sports related that can stay at Disney. The ESPN zone couldn't last. This couldn't last. I'm with you, man. I think they gave up the ghost on Disney Quest way too soon. I don't know what they're gonna do here. We don't need another eatery. We need entertainment. Um, I love the bands that play around Disney Springs. I think it's great. I don't know what they could put here. I'd love to see something sports related. It'd be a lot of fun. I mean, WWE Hall of Fame would be cool.
That sounds self-serving.
It
to
is.
me. I don't.
It
Yeah,
is.
exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know, man. I look at this and I think to myself, I wish I had gone. But Allison, what do you think? Is this something you would have gone to, or your dad would have gone to, or you sad to see
Definitely
it go?
not my dad, but I would have. People who went liked it, and like the experience, especially because it wasn't like overcrowded once it opened. But actually, it was like a good time. I think that the problem really is that like people who watch NBA or fans aren't they like to watch the game and observe it. They don't necessarily want to be in it. And so I think it just wasn't like as attractive as they thought it was going to be. But if you actually went and did it, it was kind of fun. I guess it was the same kind of issue as like a Disney Institute problem. Like in theory, people may want to do this, but we'd rather watch people like on a cooking competition and watch Chopped on the television than actually like get a lesson in some culinary thing while we're on vacation. So I think it was just a tough thing. And maybe they saw this year, maybe they could get some kind of like tax break for just demolishing it, kind of like Star Wars hotel style. And like that might have been some of the calculus. I'm not sure why.
Why you got to bring up Star Cruiser? Why you got to do that? Yeah, I mean, and again, we're still waiting to see what's going to happen over there, but it would be nice if there'd be a new entertainment option here. This is interesting. So we have a super chat from Jungle Cruiser who's asking a Wigs question. So first of all, we love our Wigs, the WDWNT Interglobe Society. Thank you guys so much for being Wigs members, part of our Patreon, part of our family. If you want more information on that, go to patreon.com/WDWNT. The question is, a $7 level and don't get any after show invites for ParksCenter. That is a travesty. We'll figure out why that, how to fix that. We do drop that link, or I think David is like David Lung's the official. I drop this in the chat after the show. So if you are at that level, David Lung usually drops that in there for us, and we appreciate that. So, but we'll try to find out why you're not getting any alerts, because gosh darn it, we would love to have everybody who we can on that post show at the end. So one last thing we're going to talk about, we're going to just one more so that we don't go too far over here and everybody gets a good night's sleep, is bad merch. And when I say bad merch, there is some bad merch out there. We kind of touched on this before, but I've gotten to see it in person, and boy howdy, like if this is your thing, I'm sorry, but the Eats collection that I think somebody said at one point, like, was this made by AI? Look at that headband. Look at that headband. Like, and like, take a real close look at that headband. I don't know. I mean, again, I fancy myself a little bit of a graphic designer, and I look at this and go, what are we doing? So, yeah. And any thoughts on this, Patrick? And how much of this merch do you want? Am I wrong here? Is it wonderful?
If that ear head didn't have the bow, I'd be down with it.
Seriously?
There's not a slice of yeah, definitely. There's not a. I have. Hold on. I don't know if I can get my foot up. Hold on. There we go. Oh boy, I got pizza socks on. I love it, but I don't think there's a slice of pizza on Disney property that looks anything like that. I am very concerned that this collection was made by AI. Someone pointed out that like the way the hot dog is sliced, where it's a Mickey on one part and then it's not on the other, kind of reeks of AI. I don't want that. I want artists to give us art. Yeah, it's pretty ugly, but I would rock the ears without the bow.
And this Spirit jersey?
I'm very jealous. My wife and daughter have matching Spirit jerseys, and I don't have one with them. But no, I would not wear that. I like the popcorn one, though. The popcorn one.
Like I said, I was there this weekend, and I took a picture of the Eats section. And this is not a crew I want to hang with, I don't think. But I mean, I just like, again, people like what they like, and that's great. But like even the logo I'm looking at, which has the pretzel and which I assume is a donut and maybe a couple churros. Is that what's happening there?
Chocolate covered Rice Krispie treat.
Maybe that's what that is. It seems like a lot to me. So yeah, I like that people like what they like, but I just look at this and go, I don't really know. The one person that I know absolutely loves merchandise is Allison. So Allison, before we go, I just wanted to get your take on this and to ask if you're going to get the Spirit jersey or what's gonna
I'm getting nothing. I look at this and I honestly sometimes have a really hard time like distinguishing good from bad because I don't want any of it. But this, I can see this is like almost like they're playing a trick on you. Like, let's see if we can get people to spend money on this. Like, how gross could we make this? How drippy can we make this? Like, looking, and we're not. And no, let's put it on Mickey ears on someone's head and make it look like it's dripping, and see if they'll pay $36 for them or whatever their price point is. Like, it feels like a joke. But they've all felt like kind of like, oh my god, how do we get people to?
I just want to do. I want to do a merchandise show where I show off all of my merchandise and Allison just bashes it. Like, I would love that.
I want that too. I would like that for your merchandise, not mine.
For my merchandise.
Marathon show.
I think we should have that. Like, I legitimately have that. It's like when she says it makes total sense. When I'm in the park and buying stuff, I'm like unhinged. I'm just buying it all over the place. So yeah,
you had to have
Allison,
her be your personal shopper.
Exactly. Well, yeah. Here's how that would work. She wouldn't buy anything. That's how that would work.
Maybe that's what you need, buddy.
No one should listen to me. I have like 6 pairs of socks. I don't have a lot of stuff. My socks are. I have 2 pairs of black socks and 4 pairs of white socks. Like, that's what my drawer looks like.
One more super chat here that we have from Jill, which is similar to the one that we had from Jungle Cruiser. I also do not get emails regarding the after show. I feel like we're having super chats, and I love that you guys are doing super chats, so thank you. And it's almost like we're telling on ourselves, like we screwed up. I am so sorry. We will get to the bottom of this and figure it out. She says, I also don't get emails regarding the after show. I can access it via the website, but without access to the chat. So normally how we do it is we do the chat through the Discord, not through Patreon. So if you guys are out there, please join us. After the show here, we'll have a post show, and hopefully everybody can make it. And again, I'm going to put David Long on duty to drop that link in the chat for the people who are at that level, because we really appreciate you guys for being WIGS members and for tuning in on Sunday nights with us and hanging out. We love doing this show, and we do it so that we can hang out with you guys and talk ridiculously about Disney. And so thank you guys for doing that. I also want to give a shout out to Deep in the Plus, because Patrick is going to be doing some shows coming up pretty soon. He's going to be doing Onward on March 6th, and then on March 13th is our holiday, man. It's your and mine. It's St. Patrick's Day. Every year we have a St. Patrick's Day choice, and this year you chose what? Oh yeah, you'll be drinking. Yeah, that's fine. You'll be drinking. That's
you lucky dog.
You Lucky Dog, everybody's favorite movie, because it has the word luck in it. So we're doing it. So
we are
join us.
Scraping the bottom of the barrel related to St. Patrick's Day.
So join us this Wednesday night. We'll be talking about That Darn Cat, the original one, with my good friend Maleko, and then it's a back-to-back double shot of Patrick. So please join us Wednesday nights at 9 p.m. on this channel. Don't forget to subscribe. Give us a thumbs up. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you, panel, for being here tonight too. We appreciate you. Have a great week, and if we can, we'll see you in the post show. Theme parks and things. One last super chat here. Going back to Soarin', I think it needs to be 4D or 3D. I don't disagree. There is sometimes when I'm riding through it and we get through the water part, and I'm expecting the water mist in the face, and it doesn't happen. Like, do that. Like, have those effects go on. That would be awesome. So again, thank you so much, theme parks and things, and everybody who did the super chat tonight. We greatly appreciate it. And we will see you guys next time. Have a great week, and hopefully we'll see you on the post show. Take care.
Bum, bum, bum.
There it is. That's what everybody wants.